All right, so this video is going to be about rewriting in simplified exponential form. So what that means is that we're going to have to make sure that we get rid of this radical. So right now it's the fourth root. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to put my little bit of attention on that 64. I'm going to rewrite this as the fourth root of 64 to the first power p squared m cubed. I needed to be able to do that so I understand that everything has an exponent. All right, the next part is to rewrite this from radical using my rational exponents. All right, so remember when we rewrite this stuff, 64 to the first, p squared and m cubed, all of this is actually being raised to the rational exponent of 1/4. That's the same thing as taking the fourth root. All right, now what we want to do is use our exponent properties. So one of our exponent properties says that if we have an exponent raised to another exponent, we multiply it. So 3 is an exponent, and it's being raised to the 1/4, so I need to multiply. 2 is an exponent. It's also being raised to the 1/4, multiply. 1 is an exponent. That's being raised to the 1/4, multiply. So now this becomes 64 to the 1/4, p to the 2/4, m to the 3/4. All right, so now at this point, what we need to do is once we have our exponents, all our rational exponents, we need to try and simplify any that we can. So you can see that the 2 divided by 4, 2/4, can be actually reduced. So we're going to write this as 64 to the 1/4, p to the 1/2, and then m to the 3/4. Now the one thing that we could also possibly do is we can try to rewrite 64. Now what I would try to do with 64 is try to rewrite that using the same number repeated to itself. Okay, so what I'm going to go with is I'm going to go ahead and rewrite 64. I can write that as 4 times 16 and then 4 times 4. So now you can see that we have 3 4s being multiplied. So really 64 can be rewritten as 4 to the third, which is being raised to the 1/4, p to the 1/2, and m to the 3/4. Now, once again, we're going to go ahead and do some multiplying. 4 to the 3/4, p to the 1/2, and m to the 3/4. Now, this is just a very special situation where you can rewrite 64. Usually, I wouldn't try to rewrite it. I'd leave it as is. But there's multiple situations where you might want to have to go ahead and rewrite that. Now, 4 was just a number that I picked. I ended up realizing that there was 3 4s. 4 times 4 times 4 is 64. You can actually multiply it with 2s. You can break down all the way to your prime numbers. If you did, let's bring it up over here to the next page. So 64 to the 1/4, p to the 1/2, and m to the 3/4. What now I can also do is break that up as 2 and 32, 2 and 16, 2 and 8, 2 and 4, 2 and 2. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now what I can actually do is raise this as 2 to the 6th to the 1/4, p to the 1/2, and m to the 3/4. So now I do that again. I multiply my exponents, so this becomes 2 to the 6 over 4, p to the 1/2, m to the 3/4. And then I can simplify and write that as 2 to the 3/2, p to the 1/2, m to the 3/4. So this is just another way that you can rewrite this. I'm going to go back to the front page and say that this form that I'm circling right here is fine. That's good. If you want to try to break it down, or maybe a possible answer was down here as 4 to the 3/4, p to the 1/2, m to the 3/4, or this is another possibility. All right, so you have to determine, do they give me this answer right here? If they don't give me this answer, 64 to the 1/4, p to the 1/2, m to the 3/4, then I got to be able to find something else. How else can I rewrite this, and how else can I represent the answer that I just wrote, right? So that's just one way how you rewrite in simplified exponential form. Just make sure that you rewrite the root. Make sure that every exponent ends up getting multiplied to that root, to that rational exponent, and then try to simplify your exponents as much as possible.